Boom. We're live. All right. Let's send a tweet and then we're going to hit it. We may
Perfect.
leave this for the YouTubes because I don't have enough time to edit it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's all good.
hello,
We
YouTube.
we do what we can for the good people out there, you know?
That's right.
It's crazy how we've gotten busier over the years.
Uh, it's insane, man.
I
I
mean,
keep
you've got a
giving
whole
us.
separate moonlighting life that you do now, but you LARP as a real estate agent or whatever you do. I don't mean
LARP,
that as a put down. I
LARPing.
mean,
I LARP in every industry that I'm in,
okay, that's fair. You said it, not me.
including crypto. I just LARP all the time.
I mean, hey, you started a business. That
Yeah,
isn't LARPing.
that's fair. That's fair. But it feels like LARPing still. It's
That's
hard.
that's that's skin in the game, my friend.
It is skin in the game as a LARP. All right, I'm gonna do the thing all the way. Go to here, fade it out. 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the LedgerCast. My name is Brian Krogsgaard here with Josh Olsowich. Josh, how you doing?
Ryan, it's been too long. It's good to be back. It's good to be with you,
Oh, it's great to be
dear
with you.
listener, dear Brian.
Great to be with the people, the listeners of the show. I keep hearing, like, there are times where I'm talking to somebody in a meeting and they're referencing LedgerCast like they have not heard of Weekly Open or Up Only. And I'm like, I think this is the smallest of the shows, but it is the longest running. But it's just me and Josh having a conversation, and some people really love it, and I love it. I would do this with you on Fridays, even if no one was listening. So we're thankful for you
That
long-term listeners.
that is kind of true. It's been
A
yeah, I
long
mean,
time. It's been like
it's
5 years.
it's been a long time. I stole this from Gary V, who's off the reservation now, but don't create, document, you know. So we're documenting a call that we would have kind of anyway, right?
Yeah, there you go. Um, well, we're back again. Both of us have changed elements of our environment. So we've been pretty busy. I don't think we've recorded for 2 weeks. And we have a short show today, but we are here. And we want to talk about the market. There's pretty much what we talked about last time has been what's gone on. Um, but things look kind of recovery-ish. Um, how you feeling?
Yeah, so I guess the question is this all ETH merge related? Is this people thinking macro picture looks better, but also a little skittish on longer term macro? Is it a combination of both? You know, I don't know. Is everybody just gone for the summer because it's August? I see that
Su-
narrative too.
Summer doldrums, low volume, grind up. What's going to happen in September? Down in Alabama, school's already back. Summer's over, but global markets aren't based in Alabama, despite my best effort.
Yeah, things. It's weird because ETH, right? ETH is, it's like a new day over at ETH
Yeah,
land. It is just
yeah,
popping off.
you've got that lame,
I got this
um,
dirty coin called Bitcoin on my screen,
yeah,
but
absolutely disgusting Bitcoin. Um, you gotta look at good coin. Mine has the ETH chart as it was a while back, so I'm gonna have to go back to your chart. Something's janked up on my screen share. Um, but yeah,
well, if
ETH
we were
is
if we rewind the tape, we talked about this inverted head and shoulders. I remember saying words like pretend you're at your grandparents' house skipping rocks on a pond or something.
is that what we
Because
said?
because nobody thought this could actually move higher at that time. You know, I feel like everybody was super bearish still, and things look bearish in macro. All these reasons not to go up totally made sense to just stall, right? But it
And,
happened. We went
and here
higher.
we go.
Um,
ETH is like basically double off the Pico bottom. Not that many people bought that, but there was plenty of time. Despite I have a weekly chart up here of ETH. Looks like it hardly touched it, but there was plenty of real life time to buy under $1,000. And now we've touched 1900 plus. I don't know how high we got on ETH, but let's go ahead and call that a double. That's pretty
yeah,
incredible.
and if you're new to TA, or if you're new to markets, and you are unfamiliar with things like psychological levels, you know, the beauty of crypto is you get to see it real time, super quickly. You get all these lessons just shotgunned at your face, Gatling gun. It's like people talking all this stuff. Maybe you're familiar, maybe you're a non-believer, maybe, I don't, it doesn't matter to me what people are, but I'm just saying, like, look, there's the evidence right there that 1,000 level, it's weird that was the level, but that was the level,
Yeah.
because of arguably psychological support resistance. BTC, same thing for 20K.
Yeah. Below 20K must be cheap. Below 1K must be cheap.
Same thing for 2K, which we're going to talk about as far as ETH levels of resistance. 2K is going to be a big psychological resistance level. It's also the 200-day EMA. It's also a cloud level up there. There's plenty of compliments for 2K. A 2K stall, at the very least. What I don't like about this post inverted head and shoulders breakup, post E to E trigger in the cloud, is we're printing this rising wedge situation. That historically, these wedges do lead to continuation.
Yeah.
So people hate when I say I'm bearish on patterns like that.
Yeah.
I get.
Or you mean that you're bullish on chart patterns like that?
No. I trade it as bearish every time.
I see.
I'm always wrong usually for crypto, but I can't not see it as bearish. Am I crazy? I don't know. People always tell me, how can you be bearish? These always break up.
Well, it's grindy upwards consolidation. It can break either way, but yeah, to your point, crypto in the long term has been in a bull market, and these types of things have often resolved in continuation to the upside. Crypto's not really in a bull market right now, so I think if you're ever going to have a bearish bias on a bearish chart pattern, then now's a good time in a bear market.
Right, but does the merge trade supersede everything anyway, which is what people are going to argue, right? They're going to say, you were bearish. How could you not buy this? The merge trade is on, you idiot, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which, that's a valid point. I understand.
I like your view of ETH there. You're pointing at the several chart patterns we've had over the last 6 months or more. Little cloud view, 200-day moving average, I think you're looking at.
Yeah.
I got this one out on the weekly and put a big yellow box on a large range, and some of our friends have tightened that up a bit, but I'm giving it a lot of leeway. So giving permission to Ethereum 1650 to 2100 is kind of all the same to me. But we're like well into that box, and could imagine getting rejected on this weekly or next week or something like that pretty easily, and retesting lower without making new lows. That's all very possible. At the same time, we went down 11 weeks in a row or something, and now we're up 5 in a row. So it's like, from a time series perspective, it's basically a 50% retrace, and it's also that same thing from a price perspective. So now's kind of no man's land.
Yeah, I think it's, if your targets are 2222, if you're on board with my 2222 target,
might as well be.
Then it's a little late to jump into ETH here, right? Based on risk reward.
Yeah, because you're 20% up just as easily has 20% down, which makes it not nice when your risk and your reward are exactly the same, unless you have very high confidence.
Right, exactly. But if you are super convicted that this thing is either going to hit that target or just exceed it on merge shenanigans, quarterly futures, short unwinding, I've seen a bunch of possibilities. I think that's what Arthur brought up in whatever he was talking about, right? That quarterlies are in backwardation, but the moment that those hedges start to come off, we may see ETH go much higher, right? I think that's the line of thinking that I got to.
Are the hedges there for like a sell the news potential?
So if you're heavily long spot and you're hedged on quarterly futures in the event that the merge doesn't go well, then you're covered, right?
Yeah.
But if the merge goes well and those shorts unwind, or if price goes high enough, quick enough, the hedges start to unwind, right? I don't know what these people are, what their actual mindset is here, but I'm just sort of game theorying this out. That is a way in which we could, spike quicker than otherwise, right? A short squeeze is what I'm talking about, effectively.
Right. That's interesting. The story for Bitcoin is significantly different than ETH. You showed a daily chart. I'll go ahead and pull up a weekly chart like I did before.
Well, one last thing about ETH, I think it's important
yeah,
to
go
say.
ahead.
For me, I'm not trading it as though I'm expecting a short squeeze. It's just like that's a possibility. But anyway, go ahead.
The thing with Bitcoin is it's been real slow. Like it actually looks kind of like a bear flag to me, almost. Like,
how dare you? You take that back.
Just saying. I'm just saying. It just looks weak. It did get above the 200-week moving average, but it didn't really thrust off of that. It's just grinding along. I actually expect that to continue. But if you want to be a moving average maxi, which I like to be sometimes, I do like these trades where you can go from one prominent moving average to another. So like the 200-week to the 20-week, basically a bounce from recovery of your slow moving average to resistance of your fast moving average. This actually does give you a good risk reward trade, which is different than what we just talked about on Ethereum.
That's the best thing you just said. The risk reward profile for a long on BTC, assuming ETH doesn't reverse and bring down the entire market with it.
Yeah.
The long setup is better. The conviction is smaller, but from a pure profile perspective, 100% agree. If you expect the rotation trade to be successful or to occur at all, then yes, I do like a BTC long based on that setup.
At the same time, then you go look at ETH BTC, and oh my gosh, it completely retraced the relative dump and is sitting at range multi-year highs ish, almost to 0.08. And this thing, does it not look like the 0.1 magnet might be back on?
Yeah, I mean the chart's it's like Chernobyl disaster level as far as price structure is concerned. Like, can you imagine what's running through certain people's minds who've been liquidated from the market now?
Oh man,
I won't name names, but
3 Arrows Capital.
It's like none of that stuff ever happened. It's a new day.
Yeah, like their liquidation would not have occurred if we just pushed forward a couple months.
No, but at the same time, it needed to occur to get to this level, right?
Right.
This is just part of the market being.
Kyle's tweet of a couple more liquidations than up only.
Didn't realize it was his own.
Yeah, might go down as an all-time best. It's so insane. Anyway.
So yes, the chart. I think the targets are totally reasonable. 0.1, 0.14. If you fib that out, I think those are the levels anyway.
Oh, really?
Those are the horizontal levels that you're pointing to.
Oh, baby.
For those people not listening, not watching.
It's the 1.618 and the 2.618 extension, basically.
Yeah, people even in the comments or in chat are saying, there's no story for BTC right now. And look, I get it, right? This is ETH's prom. This is ETH's big moment. It's years in the making.
The merge. And why are they naming it in this big moment? They're like, we're going to call this thing Gordy. Whatever. Like all these names for the merge tests are so terrible. They need some branding help with Ethereum.
The testnet?
Yeah, it's like Gorley or I don't know.
Yeah, you're just from Alabama and don't know how to say words. It's fine.
That's true. That's true. I'll give you that.
No, it's fine. It's whatever at this point, right? But yeah, no, it's hard to be, if you're a BTC maxi and not thinking like markets have cycles that they go through, and like, look, I don't like ETH as much as the next BTC maxi, but I know where the trade is at here, and kind of silly not to. You don't have to participate, but to say like this thing's gonna collapse under its own weight or whatever, I'm not so sure about that.
I do think if you're gonna play the continuation's the name of the game, we're gonna get beyond 2222. We're gonna go the next step you can start looking at, in my opinion, 2,500 and even 3,500 in terms of potential points of resistance for Ethereum.
We say this a lot.
2,500, 25K is 0.1. Don't know if you know that math. As an Alabamian, I know that.
It's the eights, man. I can't do eights. Math with eights always trips me up. So that one would have worked out. But what we always tell people is just have a plan, right? Like, if your plan is to jump into a trade at 2222, ride it to 35 or whatever, then stick to that. But
good question in the chat from someone who YX something, which is called YX. I haven't seen you before. Going to give you a shout out for the chat. How will you guys play the ETH forks? Dump right away. I will dump the ETH forks right away. And depending on how the fork is structured, it may actually be a tailwind for ETH itself, kind of like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash were. The hard part about the forks is the Bitcoin Cash fork had an absolute turbo whale standing for it in Roger Ver. And I don't know that the ETH proof of work stuff is going to have people with as deep a pockets that are ready to back it and play the whole narrative. Plus, the time you play the narrative that everybody already understands, it doesn't work as well. So probably a bounce going into it, and then a small dump coming out of it, and then it all fizzles out. And you just treat the fork, if you earned it, like some yield. So that'd be my personal take. How would you change that?
Are exchanges even giving you the fork? Is the first question.
Well, don't keep your coins on exchanges in that case.
That's fair, but that's just one thing to know. For fuel, for the fuel side of things, are exchanges giving people the opportunity to collect the fork? Or are they just going to liquidate it or just ignore it? And if it's not traded on their exchange, why would they give people the fork? I guess
I believe historically they gave like claims even though they don't support them, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. That's what they should do. I don't know if like Coinbase come out and said we're going to give you the fork.
Yeah, and it's like levels of forks. Coinbase obviously they kind of over promoted Bitcoin Cash, and then maybe BSV or something they offered claims for. I can't remember. I'm making stuff up, but I don't think they ever did like Bitcoin Diamond or whatever other garbage forks happen. At some point they called it a day. So I think if you want to rely on the ETH fork as getting the value itself, I would do so off exchange.
100% agree. The second question is who's on the other side buying the ETH forks?
Yeah.
Like everyone's going to be selling it, I think, right? So who's going to be the buyer in that situation?
Maybe miners that want to promote it and think that there's an opportunity to continue earning from equipment that was ETH or ETH majority mining. Maybe it's cheaper for them to pump it to get people excited about it so they can make money off of it longer. I don't know.
Like you had said during BTC's contentious hard fork stuff, at least there was some like community, if not like a few people who were behind Bcash, and they at least had a belief that thing had a future. Whereas here, I'm not so sure that amount of people believe that ETH has a future. So
yeah. Also, that's a terrible name. Just as an aside, is it going to be called ETH POW?
Well, who's going to get it? Where are they going to sell it? Who's going to buy it? And if exchanges like trickle out this stuff to people, by the time you actually get it, if you don't have personal custody of the fork, the probability that you're going to be able to sell it at any decent level is probably very low.
Yeah. One other element, another counter argument against ETH POW that's I think pretty good is there's already proof of work Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, and Ethereum Classic's performed very well. I don't know if you've seen that, but I think if people want to chase proof of work Ethereum, or they have fears, or if the merge doesn't go well or whatever, ETH Classic is a cleaner play. For some reason I can't find it.
Well, the quickest way to sell your coins and not worry about the network would be to put it on an exchange that is guaranteeing you the forked coins. because
Yeah.
ideally that way it's already there and you don't have to deal with whatever the miners are going to do to the chain. Like, who knows what ETH file is, it's the wild, wild west at that point, as far as expecting the same sort of activity on the chain from a transaction perspective. Who knows? So
ETH, or ETC ETH is an incredible chart. I mean, basically back to multi-year levels. It looks like nothing, but at the same time, it's doubled relative to ETH while ETH is doubled. So it's 4x'd relative to the dollar. So been a pretty great play.
yeah, I don't know who's buying ETC. I guess
Hosaka. Speculators. Only speculators are buying ETC.
Well, that's what I was going
And
to say.
Barry.
I don't know. You put it head to head against any other layer one, it makes no sense. You look at the community, the developers. I don't know. I just don't see it. But for me, the fundamental value just isn't there, other than like a hedge against whatever or speculation.
Sturkey in the chat said Decred and others are also trying to get their mining profitability up, existing ETH miners. So I don't know.
Yeah, that game's just not for me.
Yeah, I just don't care.
Good on anybody who's played that.
If it pumps Ethereum, that's great. I don't like playing the highly derivative game is not as exciting for me.
Well, I did like your narrative piece about people selling ETH POW and pumping ETH higher.
Yeah.
I don't know if ETH POW is going to have enough value to even do that, but it's, it gives people more money to buy ETH with. So I don't hate that idea. It's certainly a possibility. I just think it's going to be worth like cents on the cent, just absolutely nothing.
Yeah. There's a little bit of news to talk about. The Tornado Cash previously anonymous developer was arrested and then revealed by Banteg and the Block to be someone who I believe was an auditor of some sort in their doxed version of themselves. And they got arrested for supposedly something to do with money laundering, but concerning from a privacy perspective and not surprising in some other ways. But do you think there's implications in the market due to this Tornado Cash arrest?
Well, the market didn't seem to care, right? It actually cared. It cared a lot for Ren and Monero. Didn't care so much, but some of the other like pseudo mixers saw a lot more activity, either by volume or price. So
interesting.
The market did see people rotating into that stuff. It poses a massive problem for DeFi, just like thinking this out. If OpenSea is denying users based on past history when things weren't quote unquote illegal, or sanctioned, that's just a whole nother can of worms. OpenSea, DYDX, just two to name. DYDX I think came back and said they were mistaken on what they did, but
oh really?
Yeah, didn't they say they reversed? I think they said going forward they're gonna start to segregate funds, but I thought they were closing positions based on people using Tornado Cash in the past, and then I don't know. The whole thing's a mess because if you remove the fungibility aspect of this and like you're trying to KYC stuff, you're making like permissioned pools, and it's just.
I saw somebody very quickly when Tornado Cash news started coming out. They started sending small amounts of ETH to a bunch of like doxed and celebrity addresses, just to see if it would, what kind of chaos they could create. I guess. I just feel like the whole thing's a massive can of worms.
It's a massive can of worms. It's going to fracture DeFi in ways that people have predicted for years, in that we're just going to have KYC DeFi. We're going to have DeFi like we have centralized exchanges, where there's like this international universe and there's this USA universe, and they're not going to commingle. They're going to be completely separate. That's just how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll even be more restrictive than that. Maybe, I don't know, but
I never used Tornado Cash, but
Is that under oath, or
Yeah,
is that your position under
it's
oath?
under oath. I hereby swear. Um, However, I don't think there should be anything inherently wrong with just using Tornado Cash for the sake of privacy, because a blockchain is very trackable and it's very hard to maintain cash privacy. Cash privacy is not a problem; it's a right, and that is annoying and concerning. But yeah, so
Well, that's
I'm
the thing.
actually
Is privacy a right?
yes,
Obviously, people not in the governments say yes, it is. We have
yeah, and
cash.
DNA cuts is getting to my point. It's for sure an attack on privacy, and then in question open software. And I actually do think it's probably an attack on open software as well, whereas historically you could just release software and people have a right to use it. That's like one of the tenets of open source is, people's right to utilize the code, but the code is not the bad actor. The code is just code. And it's, yeah, so DNA QS continues on well. I'm just going to read it. Do we know if the guy who was arrested didn't just actually launder money at some point and is now getting caught? We don't know that. That would make it better for, not for him, but for like the reducing it being an attack on code itself, reducing it being an attack on privacy itself. And hopefully they're not like cherry picking and just going after someone because they also don't like Tornado Cash, but it is simultaneously concerning from a individual privacy perspective, and then also we don't know all the details and what it'll entail. But
Well, like how Lead It Is says in chat, there's a war on cash. That's no secret. CBDCs are coming globally. That's no secret. They're trying to KYC every transaction anywhere in the universe of history of Earth. That's no secret. That's all coming. So this flies in the face of that Tornado Cash.
yeah,
Um,
and all of those things you just said really suck, by the way.
Yeah, they're not good things. And this has corollaries to like the Cody Wilson the 3D gun code, right? I'm going to butcher the story, but very similar, where code was basically deemed like illicit or illegal.
The 3D printing of guns.
Right. It creates this Streisand effect where we're going to see more mixers with more anti-fragility, where they're just untouchable, right? Look at Pirate Bay. Pirate Bay, similar thing. I think Whirlpool came out and said they're another mixer. Like, come at us, come and try,
Yeah.
So these are all lessons people are learning for the future, right? We're seeing what's happening with Tornado Cash, but yeah, it's going to be a big problem.
Yeah,
for sure.
Interesting news, concerning situation overall.
Well, they're deleting the GitHub, the Discord, just like they're what is it called? Not rewriting history, but they're book burning basically, right? Like, what is going on? Like they just think, oh, if it's gone, it's like if a picture hits the Google search and somebody says take that off Google, like it's gone forever. No, it's there forever. What do you mean? That's not how these things work. It just boggles my mind that they thought like, oh, we'll just sanction this and that'll be it, right? That's not exactly.
It's like when celebrities delete tweets. Oops. Yeah.
Yeah, these things are never going to go away. Even today,
Inverse Bra always has a screenshot.
Tornado Cash is still being used today, right? For the record, I've never used it either, but
is that an oath?
I did think about using it for the airdrop, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking about using it. What's funny is like you can accomplish the same thing going through a centralized exchange in terms of maintaining your privacy from everyone except the exchange and whoever asks the exchange for information. So I always went that route when I'm like, okay, well, I want to do something on chain. I don't want it to follow me around or whatever. So you can send something to a centralized exchange and then take it out to another address, and the blockchain doesn't keep as good a track of where everything was, but the authorities or whatever can still find out what they need to know from those centralized exchanges.
Well, here's the thing: if people have been, keeping up with their history over the years, what people they would do what you do, but take it a step further, and they'd go to exchanges that didn't require KYC AML. And if you've noticed over the years, especially in the US, the availability of those exchanges is basically non-existent now. Whereas historically, you could do that on BitMEX or Deribit or wherever, right? Slowly but surely, those loopholes effectively got closed. So that's not really possible to do anymore. You can't really send it to an exchange and plan to withdraw the entirety of your funds quickly without any sort of KYC, you know?
Yeah, the KYC is necessary. I'm just saying from a personal privacy to the world perspective, because the blockchain is so public.
Yeah, it'll mix your funds, but you're still identifiable to their.
Yeah, which I'm personally okay with, and I understand, even if I am my heart still is on the side of the potential for total privacy should be allowed. You know.
Of course, like we have cash. It's a thing. I know
Right.
they hate cash because it's not KYC'd, but it exists. We can't pretend it doesn't exist. Why don't we have a digital version of that?
Yeah, Ponzi Addict brings up that sexes are enough for most of us normal people. Jen Spartan made a case for that as well. Just like the risk reward of using Tornado Cash wasn't very good, therefore he didn't, and that was kind of my take as well.
Well, this goes into the entire conversation about hosted and unhosted wallets, which is like the worst terminology known to mankind. Because again, they're trying to KYC every single wallet so that you don't have un-KYC transactions. So, people need to prepare for that coming down the pipe eventually too. If it hasn't already in Europe or wherever, I don't know what the regulatory stuff looks like over there, but
yeah,
that's been being talked about very widely.
Yeah. Is there any other news, or what are you expecting for the rest of the whatever next week?
I mean, there was the BlackRock stuff with BTC. That's huge.
Oh yeah, BlackRock is going to make institutional stuff available. They're using Coinbase for that. Is that correct?
They're using Coinbase for Bitcoin specifically so far. We see JP Morgan adding jobs for stuff, Citigroup adding jobs. When I say stuff, I mean crypto related funds or managers. We're seeing historic people on the legacy side like cross over a little cross pollination into crypto. It does give it sort of the seal of approval that, okay, guys, maybe after all, this stuff isn't all just wild, wild west, rapists, murderers, that sort of thing. Like maybe it has a legitimate use case, right? Like we laugh about that, but this is where we were in 2013 or in prior, in the Silk Road days. That's what the narrative was, and that's definitely changed, and you can't ignore that. But as the narratives change, so too changes the regulation, and that's what we're seeing. Tornado Cash is a great example of that.
Yeah. I want to show a couple of quick things from legacy markets. I know you have been tracking this as well. I saw it on your screen ahead of time. The Dixie rolled out of its parabola. Doesn't mean it's in a downtrend per se, but has the opportunity to consolidate or what do you call that? Mean revert to the downside.
Cool down, chill out.
Down, chill, stop breaking everything. Dixie to like 101 to 103 would make sense to me as like we kind of go backfill the green box a little bit, which is a many years range. If you zoom out a bit,
I'm totally fine with the technicals of that. It's just like, how does Europe actually, how does that actually happen on a fundamental level?
Yeah, I think probably has to be them getting more serious about their tightening their currencies, and the U.S. deciding like, hey, we're on pace to slow things down, but we want to achieve the soft landing, so we're reverting back to 50 basis point high. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
Yeah.
And if Europe and the U.S. are both hitting 50 basis point hikes every time, I think Europe would catch up because most people probably wouldn't be expecting Europe to outpace.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I just, what's the probability of that happening versus Europe just continuing to look like a dumpster fire from a financial perspective? One thing about BTC I'll just add is we had this edge-to-edge trigger. It might look unexciting, but arguably it was supposed to look unexciting until now, because now you have your cloud textbook stuff that I talk about all the time, and your target is somewhere up here. We'll see if it plays out. Target's up there. Stop loss is basically 22.5 based on horizontals, I guess you could say.
Are you calling for 33K?
Yeah, I am.
Let's go.
I'm just the conduit. Okay, the cloud calls levels.
I'm a cloud conduit.
I just read the chart. Okay, I don't make the levels. Yeah. So if ETH doesn't roll over, if BNB doesn't roll over, if things slow down in ETH land and people start rotating, right? If ETH BTC gets too out of whack with expectations, that's how I think BTC finally starts to move a little bit.
I like it. Like I said, going to be a short show today. I got another meeting coming up here shortly, so I got to jet. But the cloud conduit says 30K's on the realm of possibilities. We'll let that be. Thanks everybody for being here with us. Thanks to you, Josh. Everybody follow Josh at Carpe Noctem, and we'll catch you next time. Have a good one.
Monuments crumble in the blink of an eye. The easy river has just run dry. In a house of cards, I feel the breeze wound so tight I can